Hi everyone, welcome to this short video. I always say short video, and it ends up being not that short, but anyway, lovely to be here with you as always uh, in this transmission, which I hope that you find yourself in resonance with. So, as the title of this video is Pyramids, Neurons, DNA, and water is a big quantum pyramidal network. And while I have been sharing information about this, you know how much I love genetics and neuroscience and spirituality and quantum physics and all of this coming together. So I have done very interesting findings in relation to this, in how very specific neurons in our brain are called pyramidal neurons, and also how very specific patterns in our DNA, in our chromosomes, in the part of the telomeres, have also this four-stranded DNA, which creates pyramids. And moreover, when we were talking about the molecular structure of the water, it also creates pyramidal structures, as well as our cells. And in addition to this, through the last video that I shared, I was talking about the DNA and how it embeds like every segment of our DNA, and I even showed it creates a cube which unfolds into a tesseract. Yet before coming into that, while becoming into that tesseract, it starts to create an octagon, and then evolves into an octahedron. And all of this might sound kind of complex. Somehow it is if you're just thinking linearly about it. However, when you go and approach to this from the holographic field, then your mind expands and you see that which we see as merely solid is actually non-solid at all. It's existing at many layers and in many geometries and interconnected to the wholeness. And while it is interconnected to the wholeness inhabits within that unit. So again, the more that we evolve that linear form of thinking that we were taught or how we were educated, then we are capable to connect with the true essence of the universe. A nonlinear one, a quantum one, telling us that we live in an interconnected universe. So, having said this, I'm just going to show a couple of slides. And in these slides, hello everyone. In these slides, I will be showing to you the images, of course, of what I'm talking about, because I do believe that it's easier to connect and to relate to something once you see it, then it makes more sense in the thinking process. So another thing, um, if you want to, as I say in the description below this video, if at some point you desire to acquire the full video in which I am talking about this in the Rise of the Guardians conference in Sedona last week, then you can visit Team Light store. At some point, they will be having the full recording, which is going to be amazing, awesome. They put a lot of work in the way of recording everything, so it won't only be my presentation, also all the ones that presented on that magnificent conference. So, well, now I was very excited actually about this because I was thinking to like for a while what I going to be presenting next, of all this information that I have come up with. And yet today I saw the article of my dear friend Nassim Haramein, who is a brilliant, a genius uh, man that has run into all this quantum physics information and has been putting it through like formulas and solid rock ways to demonstrate that all the information that he's um, putting out is attainable in this reality. It's physically attainable. And one of the like, so he posted on the pyramidal neurons. And again, I was so excited because I talked about this just last week. And it's beautiful how everything comes together, how we are all doing this massive labor to move, like to evolve, to bring unity into the consciousness, into the collective awareness, and be that humanity that we are being called to be as a cosmic race. So, having said this, the pyramidal neurons, imagine that we have different types of neurons. So, I'm going to break this down. We know that if we say that we live in a holographic reality, everything replicates. Like if you see myself, like if I see myself, you will see me at different layers of myself in different bodies, yet with the same information. Like the famous example that everyone talks about when they refer to fractality, about the Matrushka doll, this Russian doll that comes like in different layers at different scales, and you open the container of the biggest matrushka, and then you have a smaller one, and then a smaller one, and then a smaller one, and so forth. Well, people relate this to fractality, and when we say that we live in a holographic reality, is because what I am is projecting infinitely in different shapes, yet pulsing the same information at and by at different scales. I mean that sometimes I will in a version of myself I will have blue eyes, in another one brown eyes, in another one let's say gray eyes, and so forth. But I have the same combination but different gradients that result into non cloning, to say it somehow, in a non um, exactly the same version of myself. Slightly different, slightly different. We can relate this to sizes, like going from the macrocosmos to going through to the macrocosmos to the microcosmos. So it's an easier way to relate it to sizes. Okay, it goes smaller, 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 but yet it contains the same information. Like you can use the same formula to determine the mass of a proton, of any proton, anywhere, anywhere. Even it constructs a different body, a bigger one, a smaller one, it has the same information. So now this related to the pyramidal networks and the pyramids outside, now that all this information about Hafra and about Angkor Wat is coming out to the surface, all these ancient structures that tell us that of course they were not tombs, of course they were not um, temples. Perhaps they were used at some point for spiritual practices. However, their purpose was highly technological, you know. And again, the technology was not separated from the spirit at all. You know, they came together. When that started to separate, that's actually when everything, like went to deep to the bottom. And we are almost like we have come to the surface now after all that mess. And now we are in that point that we are invited to embody the singularity, precisely not to repeat the same pattern of behavior of separation. Now it's time of unity. And this is what the universe shows to us, like regardless the size of something, it has the same information, the same. And this happens with our neurons. So if I am telling you that, and not because I say so, it's scientifically proved, there are papers on this. And when I discovered this, I was amazed. I was actually in Egypt and I started to tune into a lot of brain tech, how we can upgrade our brain just by command. And of course, if we add to these frequencies and codes and many other factors, then our not only our brain, our full body responds in such a coherent scale, at such a coherent scale that it's it's amazing. It's mesmerizing how such greatness that our biology has, that our body has, that we are, and then you fall in love with yourself. It's inevitable. You just fall in love with yourself, being aware of the magic that you are within, that everything that has to happen for you to breathe, for you to think, for you to have energy, it's remarkable. And that what happens here is also happening outside. So these pyramidal neurons that we have, they create also, they are oscillating as well as the pyramids, the structures that were, or that are actually, but that were highly active, and that are in these ancient sites. Uh, they were oscillators, creating piezoelectric energy, creating the vacuum, 0 point energy, circular, like closed time curves, like all this capability to manipulate energy and time. And that is also happening in our brain. And what's the purpose of this? Why would we want to manipulate energy and time, from a bigger to a lower scale? And the thing is that, as I have been mentioning in other videos, time is not quite what we have been told it is. Time, or what we call time, is intermittence, is the presence, is our heart. And now, if we take this in relation to for instance, in the pyramid, why would we want to manipulate the heart? If we remove the word time and we put heart, why would we want to manipulate the heart? Because the heart encompasses the rhythm of the universe. That is what keeps us tuned and connected to the true time. What we know as the true time, let's say the true intermittence. And who is capable to manipulate the heart is capable of anything. Why? Because the heart is our weak force. And even though it should be more like the strong force, yet when it comes to quantum physics, is like the core, like the nucleus. So our heart is that force that enables not only our existence here in this reality, in the body that you are inhabiting right now. Our heart also allows us to tune into the quantum field, because our heart has a pineal gland, and that pineal gland in our heart is the name is um, synodal atrium. Synodal atrium. And that synodal atrium is the one that receives the information the first, is the one that beams the first pulse of life. And it's quite interconnected to the pineal gland in our brain. And when you manipulate that, you're manipulating the perception. And that's why all of the harvesting systems of control have been targeting big time the heart to separate our thinking from our heart, from our feeling and from our actioning. Because that level of incoherence separates big time from the heart, because the heart is coherence. That's what the heart is. That's what time is, coherence. Because everything is synced and it happens soon. So for a second to be, all the cosmic theater has to be aligned and synced for me to perceive this, what I am perceiving at this precise moment, is coherence. And of course, there are different ways and fundaments within the quantum physics. We cannot say that time is a space and that, however, when we start to use analogies of how we could translate this at a cognitive level, then, as I was saying, time would be quite related to that, to that time, how it beams. It is setting the intermittence in which coherence exists through us. And that expansion of waves is the space in which we exist through that coherence. That is the goal. Nevertheless, when we see that, for instance, now the pyramids are not fully active, does that reflect in our brain, for instance, that our pyramidal neurons are not fully active? Well, of course, if we are just using 35% of our brain, more hopefully, then we are not using the full potential. Will one day will we be ready one day to use actually our full potential? Yes, that's our goal. And I can tell you, as someone who has been specializing in brain tech, expanding my lobes, like the connection of the connection that my lobes have to the space memory network, memory enhancing, um, activating very specific memories through the pattern, the behavior that precisely these pyramidal neurons have. Meaning by this, when you recollect memory throughout your day at night, you go to sleep, which is mainly the time. It's most likely the the time in which we get to encrypt our memories, and the memories that we will be using for a while, and then creating loops, and then creating patterns of behavior, and so forth. So, for instance, if throughout that process, mostly at night, your pyramidal neurons start to emit theta waves in as a feedback of the hippocampus, and specifically a part in that area, which is the septum. So in those areas, let's say that there is this feedback, this exchange of theta waves that are actually anchoring the memories. And the memories are based on the information that perhaps you experience throughout the day, or that I experience throughout my day. And the ones that are highly in resonance are the ones that are going to be anchored in my memory. So, what determines the amount of resonance? The oscillation of the pyramids. And what determines the oscillation of the pyramid? The level of coherence of theta waves that there are, the ones that are more, let's say, open to receive those theta waves as a feedback, and the ones that actually generated more emotions throughout your day, because actually that's oscillation. It's like your heart, you're going through a strong emotion, bam, 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 bam. Okay, so then you're generating a high frequency, a much higher frequency than if you are just, like relaxing. So that's a lot how information is anchored through the neurons. In this case, talking about the pyramidal neurons. And when these pyramidal neurons, for them not to create like an overstimulation, because then you could have a seizure. That's what happens with the people that have epilepsy. That's what I have tuned into, and I'm quite sure that it's neurologically can be neurologically proved that people with seizures, it's because there is an overstimulation of the pyramidal neurons around the hippocampus. So then they start to have those seizures. So what prevents those seizures are the inhibitor neurons, such as the rose hip neurons. And they have this name because they are creating actually a, let's say, that counterpart of that stimulation through the oscillation that the pyramidal neurons emit. So then they are creating a leverage in between them, and that creates two forces: one clockwise, accelerating, and the other counterclockwise, which is decreasing. And those create ripples in time. And this is in relation to what I was saying about the pyramids, the pyramidal network outside. The pyramidal network would not only be focused or would be created to, when we say to generate piezoelectric energy, it is one layer of everything that those pyramids were doing. They were generating that, which is part for the plasma to be generated at a very specific scale. However, if you want to go to generate plasma at a different scale, then you need to go all the way Planck scale and start to access to the negative density of the quantum, the negative energy density of the quantum, which mainly is when you start to apply to the kind of tech that is the word is reversal engineering. So reversal engineering is actually how you access to the 0 point energy and how you access to the black hole tech. And by the way, for the ones that will be watching the full recording of the conference, or when you watch my videos, me saying that we have black holes in our eyes, of course, I'm not talking at a cosmic scale, even though we are creating energy at a cosmic scale through our mitochondria and the reticular matrix of our mitochondrion. We have black bodies in our eyes, which is black holes at a micro scale. And that's where life emerges from. So, and I just want to do like a close parenthesis. And now, as I was saying, so this type of reversal engineering to access to the technology and of the black hole was something that was also used for the pyramids. And we are creating that in our brain because ripples exist due to black hole energy at some scale. Why? Because everything exists at different gradients, at different scales. And the black hole is the fundamental and intrinsic form of existence from which everything exists, and due to that everything exists. Our solar system is inside a black hole. And this actually Nassim has been talking about for a while. And now like other scientists are starting to come around and think about that, have double thoughts about that, about denying that. So anyway, and now just to simplify it, I told you so. It was going to be a short video, and now we're 26 minutes. I love this. I love this. I also love this topic, Elio. I know it's one of my passions. You know, when it comes to unifying science and spirituality, it's reaching that singularity. Anyway, by the way, for the ones that don't know, singularity is the center of any wormhole, and wormholes, in each mouth of the wormhole, have black holes, and black holes are interconnected through a network. So our eyes are connected through the whole network of perception. Tele, um, that's how clairvoyance exists. That's how um, um, this um, it's something with the words today. It's very interesting. I am next to some very interesting artifacts that I'm tuning into, so there is a lot of energy going on. But yeah, like remote viewing also exists due to the connection in between black holes in our eyes. Hi Tammy, hi David. Uh, is negative energy density what happens in a black hole? Yes. Yes. Actually, and this is what scares a lot of scientists, you know, tuning into and manipulating the negative energy density. But actually, that's how you can access to the energy of the black hole, you know, and through the vacuum, you know, and of course all of this, just by mentioning negative energy density, is using reversal engineering, you know, and all of this is being done now. And yeah, a big shout out to and well, big congratulations to all the work, the remarkable work that Nassim is doing. Nassim, thank you. And yeah, so he's putting out all this information, and just want to say that and clarify that ever since I started this path of remembrance, I know these things in other words. So finding the words at a scientific level that perfectly match what I have been remembering, that's sublime. And this is for me super important, to put all this quantum physics terms and facts, solid rock facts, so that we know how entangled the universe it is. So for instance, as I was saying, I came into the importance, which is the main purpose of this video, before I deviated. And no, I didn't deviate it. It was beautiful. Thank you for asking questions. So nice to read you, David. And so the main purpose is invite you to become aware of, because we have been talking about and asking ourselves, is the purpose of the pyramids to be reactivated, or to build new ones, or new structures that that create and fill in that purpose, or that functioning that the pyramids were fulfilling. And the way that I see it, and which is very important for me to transmit to you, is that once the pyramids were used and they were functioning based on mind control. Not as the mind control that we lately hear of, as like used for oppression purposes. Oppression purposes. No, I'm talking about a mind control about as for telepathy, being capable of being like reaching the state of a unified consciousness in which making something levitate would be even simpler, not only due to the level of technology that they were using by creating resonance and very specific infrasounds and longitudinal waves that would create, and actually this is also something related to the vacuum, which is what we can call it the Casimir effect, which is when you have two forces that are going to come together and entangled and create a torsion. That's the vacuum. It can also create the other opposite, like the other pole, and instead of bringing them together, repelling one another, and that is levitation. So, however you see it, the vacuum engineering is the key to free energy, is the key to levitation, is the key to, if you look at an emotion through for the emotional body, is the key to transmute all the emotions that they are lowering you, like bringing you down. Um, is the key to clean your field, to shift, to create ripples. It's this fundamental force, or this fundamental dynamics, that when we access to that level of engineering, we see that it can serve at every scale. And now, saying about the neurons and the ripples and why it's important for us to be aware of the implications of us having a pyramidal network, a pyramidal neural network. Because once we know how to activate from within, without, then we can access to the records of the pyramids, the ones that were established from a seventh density or seventh dimensional form of perception. Accessing to those archives, activate them within our uh, pyramidal neural network, and how activated, as I was saying, like throughout the nine, and as I share other hints in my presentation, which is more expanded to some extent. You can command this at night. You can command this before going to sleep, talking to your neurons. Your neurons will listen to you, as well as your mitochondria do, as well as your chromosomes do, as well as every single particle of light in your body listens to you when you tune into the frequency that they emit. How can you do that? First, knowingness, like the knowledge that you can retrieve of how your body functions. And of course, using frequency, energy, and vibration in very specific ways. This is why I was also saying, if you want to participate in that activation that I will be offering, which is a continuation of what I did in Sedona, because this is very important. We will be doing this as well in the trips that we will be doing to different parts in the world. Now our next trip will be to Mexico, so we will be connecting with those pyramidal networks from the seventh to the ninth density. This is very important, because then you're not tuning into a stage of the pyramids and where there was like already a mess and around. You don't. Why would you want to connect? Just to know it's okay. But, it's like if you want to actually activate something within you, may it be from those highest levels of consciousness, so that it reflects within your own pyramidal network, because as well that is, as we know, is connected to the stars. Why is it connected to the stars? Well, many reasons. One of the reasons is the plasma, the non-evident plasma that is beaming from pyramid to pyramid. And it's filling in with the specific codes of each constellation to expand through all the grid, or the network, the planetary network, to bring in those codes that the races that created the pyramids, based on that, on those configurations, could keep on, so that that level of consciousness could keep alive within the planet Earth. And because that level of technology, when we are talking about a ninth density, we're talking about a unified consciousness, and actually start to command planets and move galaxies and start to create and uncreate like this massive matrix. And my matrix, I'm not talking as an inorganic matrix, though yet that exists, but not at the ninth density. That exists at the sixth density, trying to replicate what a ninth density is. So, when we are talking about, for instance, through my brain, I am moving all my body. If we are going through, if we move at scales, then we know that there are consciousness at the ninth density that can move planets, that can move galaxies, solar systems as an extension of their bodies. And that we, as a united collective, activating and connecting with the ninth density consciousness of the pyramids, will be expanding that to the network, to the pyramidal network, because memory, as the cell memory exists, and as if you cut a limb from something, or a part of a leaf, or remove like a tear, a piece of paper, the other part will still, the energy will still remain. And this is what happens with the pyramidal network. It's still there. And besides going to, or thinking about fully activating them at a technological level, I'm talking about activating them at a quantum level through our consciousness, transferring our consciousness in that exchange, in that feedback. And thank you, Jean Charles. That was not Jean Charles. I hope I said it right. Yeah, thank you for all your comments. To also bring in stars resonance and fit them into Earth. Well, actually, yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Candice, because as we know, there are layers of plasma underground, under the Earth. And for instance, underground cities have access to that plasma. This is how they keep up with a lot of their technology, because they are accessing to that plasmic field, which makes it way much easier than, let's say, at the surface or at the event horizon in which we are, taking into consideration the black hole in the center of the Earth as a connection to, and as a exit from within all the way, and then interconnecting to the black hole in different places of the solar system, and even the sun. This is why there are ships coming out of the sun, because there is a black hole. And as I mentioned in many of my videos, finally this is coming to be acknowledged by the scientific community. So yeah, now if we are connecting with the plasma of the stars, that scale of plasma will actually fit into, it's like more in resonance to the level of plasma underground, in the air, like under in the layer underground. So then it starts to create a resonance, and it actually also feeds through very specific devices and artifacts that are also used within those underground cities. It also enhances the the level of coherence and the level of network that the very same underground cities have created, have configured. It's creating resonance with the connection of those stars. This is why also these underground cities are mostly located in other other natural pyramids, which would be mountains, like big mountains of power, because they are using that vortex that is created within and throughout the pyramid, and connecting all the way to very specific, let's say, other configurations that they have created in those stars. So then it's mirroring into one another. So it's kind of another pyramidal network, you know. Um, and now that the discovery of YssaH has been done, I was sharing in my presentation, and I will share it at some point also in my courses and in another videos. Um, and of course, in other presentations in the upcoming conferences that I will be giving. There is this specifically proof of how the structure that has been found under the pyramid of Hafra mirrors into our DNA. I even shared a bit in my last video, because just before finishing and just reading if there is any other comment, um, the power in our neurons is so massive that they are brains themselves. Like every neuron is a brain, and all the dendrites that connect, through those axons, creating synapses and so forth, are not only creating synapses, they are way more complex. They are, let's say, nano, well, not nano, but like really micro wormholes interconnecting to one another and transferring information, interconnected to all this massive network. Imagine that to read the information of one neuron, it is needed an 11 dimension manifold. A manifold is, let's say, like this scan that is created through layers, creates frames or shows frames in which one object deconstructs at many layers. Okay. So an 11 dimension manifold is huge, is actually what is used for our brain, like the big brain. It's also used for the neurons. So the amount of energy that is created through every neuron is massive. We can go, it's really, again, it goes to a cosmic scale, and everything is connected. So, yeah, just to finish, perhaps I will be doing a part 2 of this video. This is why I will be sharing the activations that I mentioned. So again, if you're interested in joining, write to the email that I shared, or if you can reach out to me also via Messenger. It's because then we can tune into the information that is stored in the pyramidal network without, at the ninth level of consciousness, ninth density. And this is hugely important because that will help us to remember more, because then our pyramidal neurons will be more tuned into the ninth density or the seventh density. Okay, and by this I mean, because I want to clarify, I'm not saying, hey, you will upgrade yourself into a ninth density like fully forward. No, no. What I mean, and I know that you know that. Um, what I'm talking about is just that when you sip, let's say, sip from that level of consciousness, then you're bringing in this imprint that will enable your ninth density nature to be more present within you, unified consciousness. And when we prepare ourselves as the united collective that we are being called to be, the level of coherence that we are capable to achieve by, as I was saying, when you're capable, because that's how it was in that time, that stage. There was such coherence in between minds that the pyramidal network within each being would be mirroring and existing through the pyramidal network without. So all these images and information that people picks up about the pyramids flying and so forth, well, there is like a huge transit and bridge for this to be. It's all related to the capability of unifying the consciousness into one, and then processing and uh, functioning, making all those artifacts function in a very specific way. Um, so, as a humanity, as far as I'm concerned, what I know is that we are being called to embody unity, a unified consciousness, to master 0 point energy, like generating 0 point energy, and remaining in the singularity, in our singularity as much as we can, which means going beyond the polarized form of thinking and focus more in the center. And by this, I don't mean dissolving the poles. No, it is due to the dual holography and the vacuum polarization that we can access actually to 0 point energy. So we require from those poles. The thing is that when we acknowledge ourselves in that center as that singularity, then we are being that wholeness. And as wholeness, we can choose over the pulse, the perception we are going to give to the pulse. And that shifts everything because perception is a huge key. Like, for instance, from my perception, what is east, what is west for me is east for the other person. Who is right? Who is wrong? We both are right. It's the level of perception. And when we become the singularity, we're capable to shift the reality through our perception. So, yeah. Okay. Hi, beautiful tribe. Yeah, I don't know when part two will be, but I will surely announce it. Oh, thank you, Tennessee, and thank you to your beautiful son. A kiss to your beautiful son. What's his name? Um, this is why we need to understand the mirror neuron effect. Deep heart, knowing resonance to steer the quality of these little beings. Yes, yes, I agree. you know, so this esoteric knowledge. I remember, Elio, Aquilina. I remember, and this is why for me it's so important to share this information with you, because most of my process of conscious awareness has been through memories. Even the information that I share with you, of course, I um, I am related to the scientific approach that is being given to it, because for me it's important to give you to you the scientific facts. Yet for me to connect with those scientific facts is because I have remembered that, and then it makes sense, it comes together. uh, I will, yes, David, actually, yeah. So I can give you the date. I can give you the date in Messenger. It will be a class, and it will be also an activation. It will be an activation, a huge activation. So, um, yes, pineal heart king chamber. Yeah, please. I do not speak for any other reason. You know, I realize it's because I'm resonating with the speaker. Beautiful. Yes. Well, thank you. Hmm. Thank you. Well, ask your son if he remembers the name. If not, I will ask. And thank you. I truly appreciate you and your son. Thank you. Well, having said this, thank you everyone for joining in. Okay, so the photos they have of the columns under the pyramids, not physical, the vortex is that what you see. Thank you. I prepared a video and I was so deep into talking that, okay, I will share just a small presentation, like a small video, like 4 slides, but so that now you see the images of what I was talking about. And yeah, okay, let's go through this. Okay, and okay, here it is. I hope it doesn't take long. Yeah, it's going to. Mm, okay, now I'm going to share this one. Uh, okay, here we have it. So this is a really small video, but um, yeah, there are. Remember these octagons that you see here? I show the slides that I shared last time. Um, hold on. Okay. Yeah, these are shapes of tetrahedral DNA, and it creates the cube. And this I talked about last video. And here are the pyramids. So the pyramids are also embedded in our DNA. This is why this is just one part of the video, because our DNA, it's not the pyramids are not only connected to our neurons, yet also to our DNA, and that will also be done through the activation that will be taking place most likely next week. Here in this image, we have the pyramidal neurons, and below we see that they are creating also an octagon. So again, everything is embedded with the DNA and with the cube and with many other things that I will also be sharing in the activation, in the class slide activation. And this is also the key for the transit from silicon to from carbon to silicon. and very connected to diamond, actually, in the DNA. Here you will see the pyramids, and these are slides that I created, and you can see the pyramids and actually how the space-time fabric flows. It's not linear at all. It's dynamic. It's swirling. It has a lot of curvature. And here is the neural network with the pyramids. So this is some of what you will be experiencing in the connection, in the activation, and in the class. Because, as I said, I prepared them especially for that. And yeah, here there are, you see the particle of light and related to the DNA as well. And it's a very specific way of stimulating the brain through the colors and through the patterns. So yeah, uh, yeah, I guess that's it. So thank you. Thank you very much for um, joining me in this transmission. Um, Looking forward to see you all in the next transmission. Yeah, thank you, Robert. It was really good. It was really nice to meet you. Um, so, okay, thank you. Beautiful. Beautiful, Patricia. Thank you. Well, if you join us on the activation, you will see this is, yeah, it's big. Uh, it is what is required it to be. So thank you, everyone, for being here. And just remember that you're extremely powerful, and that the more serious and humble that you are with your mission, the more that you step up to your divine nature. And that is what is being required for humanity to thrive, for us to come into unity and occupy our space. Occupy our space in this construction that we are all creating and co-creating as we step into unity. So thank you much for watching this video, for joining, for your questions, for all your comments. And until next time, HUNUH.